But
what we'll probably also do from our end is to make it known, throw it open to the land community.
Yeah.
Hopefully, one or two angels who are looking for deals. I know somebody, as you were speaking, one particular person comes to mind, and I know a few of them like that who I would encourage to attend. I will be here myself. Never can tell what you'll find on the streets. So I'll be here, and then a couple of other angels joining me. I'm sure it will be a lot robust.
Yeah, I've been trying to join a lot of pitch sessions in very unusual places. So I joined a pitch session on TikTok. And so I thought, okay, fine. And then I stumbled on this lady who was pitching around. Essentially, the pitch was, she's like, they go and dress spaces. So for example, you have a very nice house you want to sell. You bring professional, there's a name for it, like it's like a dresser who they dress the whole place, and they will, like, hopefully that increases the price of your sale. Apparently, like, property prices go up between 20 and 30% based on how well it's dressed. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know this was a business. It's so cool to, like, there's so many innovative businesses that you don't know about, especially for those who are in the tech space. So I encourage folks who are investors to just look, like, in the unexpected places. You'll find great businesses.
I go to all the funniest of places. Maybe because, again, I'm taking strong lessons in observational investing, where you just invest by observation, not necessarily what the book says or the metric says, by just looking at what the social dynamics of an environment, and because I'm taking lessons in that, I'm also trying to practice my skills around that. And so, hey, I mean, all the funny places you ever can imagine.
I like it. All right. Well, Solomon, thank you for joining me. This is our second part of Road to ATS fundraising readiness. The purpose of these sessions is to help founders get ready. We're in January. I am so sure that many people are thinking fundraising. Some people have already started fundraising. I've surprisingly had a lot of fundraising calls already this year. And what we're trying to do is, instead of us just telling people what to do, we want to speak to as many people as possible on the topic. So Dr. Solomon King, you are our second guest. And I think when we met in Lagos, I got the book. You have a book. I took the book and put it in my bag. And then when I took the holidays, I read it. I think as soon as I started reading it, I texted you. Like, I really like this book. And it was right there and then that I thought that you should definitely feature in our series, because you wrote a book on fundraising. And what I got wasn't what I expected, in the sense that it's very detailed. It has a lot of content and context. But more importantly, it wasn't just raising for your company. You also have that non-for-profit fundraising, which is very different. But also, when you speak to a lot of entrepreneurs in Africa, they're building non-for-profit ventures. And I don't think anybody has written a book for them. So I thought that we should have the conversation. But before we get into it, for folks who don't know me, my name is Joe Kinvi. I'm the founder of Borderless. And Borderless is the infrastructure to enable folks to co-invest across Africa and diaspora. We have two products. One that's for investment collectives. So if you are an angel syndicate manager, an angel group manager, we have technology for you. But the second product is called Raise. And Raise is that product that allows founders, especially like first-time founders, to raise from their friends and family. Solomon, before I go into it, I wanted to, for people who don't know who you are, can you maybe just give them like a 30-second elevator pitch of who Dr. Solomon King is?
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you to everyone who's turned up to listen to this conversation, listen in and contribute into this conversation. I call myself Chief Servant at the Lagos Angel Network, where we try to get as many people to become angel investors so that they can fund startups. So when I'm not doing that, I'm working with startups to get them funded. Well, not necessarily startups. So startups and SMEs, medium, and even some large-scale enterprises. I have a background in management consulting. I left my banking job back in the day to go solo into consulting. And over the years, I've done stuff for Toyota, MTN, name the bank, and I probably have done something with them, Fidelity, Sterling, First Bank, name it, and I've been around. Whilst I was consulting, I spent some time, about a decade and 2 years, teaching everything in the finance space, financial accounting, auditing, and all, as a university lecturer. So prior to that, I also ran a finance cooperative. And so I've been around this space for a bit. And so a little background.
I love it. I don't think that's a little, that's a very good detailed background that can allow us to go into the conversation. So you've been an investor for quite a while, and you're also the executive director of the Lagos Angel Network. From everything you've seen with like working with founders and investors, why do you think so many founders misunderstand how investors actually think about evaluating deals?
I think that most times founders don't quite remember that the investor is a person with his own objectives. And whether the person is an individual investor or they work for a corporate institution, maybe like a bank, a VC firm, or a DFI, they always have why they came to the market. Secondly, we need to realize that this is a market. And market plays with the laws of demand and supply. Somebody wants something, somebody gets something, and those dynamics would always be there. And founders need to respect that truth, because it isn't about you. It has nothing to do with you. In fact, you're the minutest bit of the reason why the investor is there. And so if there's any lesson that I'd like for founders to early in their conversation begin to absorb is the fact that the investor is here for something. Am I it? Can I be it? Do I know what he wants? How do I position my game to fit his game so that we can play together? So it's that thinking. And even as I speak with you, I'm in the middle. Well, I'm always in the middle of a fundraise. I was going to say I'm in the middle of a fundraise, and I remember I'm always in the middle of a fundraise. I'm either raising for LAN, the primary organization, or the several other startups that we work with in my consulting firm, Budul, or even the startups inside of LAN that we have raised for already need follow-on funding. And so I'm always in the middle of a raise. And because of that, I'm always thinking, like, prior to this meeting, I spent half the day thinking in my head, who needs me at LAN? Who needs me at LAN? Not, I know what I need, but I'm needing to anticipate what the funder needs. Who would I be useful to as Lagos Angel Network, for example? That would make them want to play with me. So for founders, most times, they need to remember that the other guy came to the market and he wants to buy something, and you should be the one who provides that for him. If you miss that, the whole fundraising thing misses you.
Yeah, and I mean, founders or investors rather, are often comparing one deal to the other. And I like the way you've put it. I think it's a marketplace. And again, what investors are looking for, we can talk about it. But before we get there, I wanted to talk about the first couple of minutes when an investor makes a decision. Like, it happens in such a short amount of time. And because I've worn the hat of an investor and now I think I have a good idea. But maybe from your perspective, because you often are always in the middle of a fundraise, my question is, what are investors really filtering for in those early moments and what makes them mentally check out fast? So like, what do you think they're looking for? Because it happens like it's 5-10 minutes maybe, right?
That's a long time. 5-10 minutes.
Wow.
That's I mean the first 30 seconds, 1 to 2 minutes, the investor knows whether they want to be in bed with you or otherwise. First thing is usually their thesis. Every investor has a thesis. It has what he'd invest in. So if it's a climate-oriented investor, he probably won't look at a fintech.
For people who don't know, what is an investment thesis?
An investment thesis is a body of rules, checklists, factors that an investor focuses on. It might be a sector, it might be a time horizon, it might be a geographical location. It's just a couple of those factors that help them make that. It's a framework that helps them make the decision as to where they'll deploy their capital into. So if you consider thesis, then you now see that a startup out of Lagos, out of Nigeria, for example, doesn't fit my thesis. A startup that is very traditional doesn't fit my thesis. So most times the investor has a thesis, and we would dig this conversation, but it's wisdom for the founder who's raising to know the investor's thesis. It's like cutting a girl and you don't do some background checks on her. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
She'll check out. So the investor's thesis is the investor's spec in that light. What is the spec of this investor? What kind of, does this investor like? So you see that. So beyond the thesis, which has elements around geography, elements around sector, elements around the stage of the business. Do they focus on idea stage? Do they focus on early stage? Do they focus on growth stage? So if you pitch the right idea to the wrong investor, you'll be wasting your time. And in it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long at all. It's a 30-second, 1 minute thing, and you already know that this person is not mine. Not mine. Some other time is a personality difference. You just see that you don't vibe with the person. And no matter how hard you try, even if it's a great idea and everything else, it just doesn't fit your style.
It's not given.
Yeah, because again, investing in a business is not as logical as people think it is, number one. Number two, is not about the metrics or the mechanics alone. It's also around the nuances, the emotional, unspoken elements of a deal.
No, I like that. And I wanted to add that as a founder, before I pitch any investor, I should spend a lot of time doing background check on them. I go read the thesis, I look at their social media. I want to know the things that they're talking about so that as we get on the call, we can actually connect. Because if you can't connect with somebody, then you won't buy it. And also, I remember I've pitched some Series A investors, the call is usually 10 minutes. Because I'm checking your thesis in the first couple of minutes, is this a fit? And that's if I couldn't really get an idea of what you invest in. But before even I get on a call with an investor, I always make sure to check. So the advice for people on the call is or people who are watching this is know each investor's thesis. And Solomon, if you can allow me, I would like to add that funds theses are completely different from an angel thesis, which is completely different from a syndicate thesis. So you need to really know, I think you covered that in the book. You really need to know the thesis and how you approach the person that you're pitching to, because it varies. And for those who don't know, I often invite people on this call that I can actually have a conversation with. So Like I want to make sure that like stuff that you say complement what I say, and it's not just like a one-way thing when I'm shooting questions at you. Yeah.
Indeed. It's easier when it's conversational. It's better off as a conversation than an interview, pretty much. Because hey, you are a political juggernaut in this matter. So
I often wonder, like, because I've worn the investor hat for longer. And I think last year I didn't really. Last year I was 99% founder. But now that we've kind of built the main infra, so I think this year it's going to be like 85% founder, 15%, because one of the things I want to achieve this year is education and enablement. So how many investors can we enable to deploy capital? So I have a couple of group chats, and when I find really exciting deals, I post it in there. And also, like, we still have Hope, we have Diaspora House. So I'll be doing a bit more investing because you need to essentially drive people to the technology. So I'm trying my best. Okay, let's talk about the book. So I got the book, I read it, I loved it. I read it so fast. For folks who don't know,
yeah, I get that feedback about the readability.
Yeah.
It's my 12th book.
What?
Dude, I've been lecturing now. Should we say that part?
12.
So, yes. So and over the years I've learned what works with readers and what wouldn't, especially around here. I wrote this book for pretty much the people who are not in the major cities, the people in Kano, the people in Nasarawa, the people out of Ethiopia. So I've had somebody call me out of Ethiopia and say, hey, we're looking for investors here, or can you please help? So there are spaces, geographical spaces, where there's not so much information around this, and so the intention was to do them in material, since I can be everywhere, that can get as far as possible. And so part of the motivation was that, and I wanted it to be as easy as possible to read and apply what I was talking about.
Yeah, and even for me, while it was very easy and fast to read, I still learned a ton. But I wanted to ask, why did you write it for people in, like, call it second-tier cities?
Because there's an information asymmetry that I was uncomfortable with. One. Secondly, I think it was from a personal place of discomfort myself. So for a long time, I was not in a major city. I was
where were you?
In a city called Bayelsa. Well, that's not a city, that's a state. So a city called Yenegua, and I had to do Lagos, Yenegua very often, and it was really expensive to keep up businesses and all. And so when I was not there, of course, as a consultant, I also had to go to several other cities that were not your very popular Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, or Nairobi or Accra. It was so I've been a man of the small cities, and I've learned the languages in those places about the mismatch. First, the information mismatch, then the capital mismatch. And so it was important to provide. Interestingly, the first person who bought the book, the very first person, bought it online out of Kano.
Interesting.
So I felt I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to achieve. I want somebody who's not in Lagos, because hey, there's a lot going on in Lagos. There's a lot going on in Nairobi and in Joburg and Cape Town. But hey, what happens to the other parts of Africa? And the other emerging markets as they were, and so it was important to provide some sort of value for them.
Yeah, that's very, very useful. I actually like that. Somehow I feel like we all forget that there are other cities beyond where we live and the big cities. Like I'm the kind of that, like, you will not convince me to live somewhere else. Like I need to be right in the middle. So
Indeed.
Yeah, Indeed. It helps to know that there's also a market outside of the big cities. So Yeah.
That's another full conversation on its own. The entrepreneurship in the smaller cities, but so they say to you, for example, if you want to play the game, go to Silicon Valley. Don't waste your time, you
Mhm.
know. And then same thing, if you really want to play the game of funding, for example, you better find your way to Lagos, you know.
Mhm.
And you know, so there is that truth. But my thinking is, before I am going to Lagos, I should have done a lot of the groundwork.
Mhm.
And that was the reason for the book. I don't want to go to Lagos and stay in expensive hotels and fool around, and I'm out of capital, I'm out of the small chain that I have before I understand myself. So I want to do all of that work. I want to understand how it plays so that if I show up and I'm here 2-3 weeks, I have necessary meetings in those times, I'm able to meet with who I want to meet in the meetings where I should attend, have the conversations quickly, sharp, briefly, and make things happen. You
Mhm.
know, and so it's important to think in that light.
Yeah, no, that helps a lot. Yeah, it helps. Interesting. I want to keep. I'm gonna jump straight into like in the book. There's
Mhm.
parts of the book that I really wanted to talk about,
Okay.
and I think it was towards like middle to the end, which you talked about fundraising is ultimately a trade, right? I give you capital, you allow me to own a piece of your company.
Indeed.
How should founders think about balancing ownership, control, and also the long-term vision of the company when they are raising money?
It's a very interesting question. And for fundraising and a lot of things around it, there is no clear-cut direct answer to a lot of these questions.
Mhm.
It's on a need to know situational, circumstantial basis. That said, you don't want to give up too much of your business.
Mhm.
Therefore, you want to know who you're approaching per time. So there are funding types that are not heavy on control. Debt, for
Yeah.
example, grant, for example. Okay, some angels do your thing. I just want to support you, you know.
Mhm.
So you need to be aware of what control is, what it means to your business, and how much of it will stifle your growth
Mhm.
as a business. So you also don't want to be too timid, too scared to play the game. So again, you want to also ask questions. It's a question of who the funder is.
Mhm.
So if you do the necessary background work on the funders, it's easy to tell that this funder is a control freak.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I'm speaking with a, a startup now who has raised some money. The guys are heavy on controlling the business, but they're providing the funds in piecemeal, not doing it according to plan, and they're all messing up the whole structure of the business. And but speaking with me and working with him, I've been able to tell him, hey, you need to look for another funder. You need to stop that arrangement. You need to reorganize the cap table and see if you can get a different source of money. And so you need to ask questions first. You need to also decide how much of the business you're willing to let go.
Yeah.
Anybody coming to ask you for 50% of your business, for example, has taken the business off you. 30, 40 is a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to decide what amount of the business you're willing to let go of in place of the capital. And then you have people who say to you, oh, Solomon, but I don't have any money at all. And this person came, and again, there's also the thinking of, okay, it's okay to have 1%, 10% of a very big successful business as against having 100% of something that isn't working. So it's a very nuanced conversation, but in the end, Control is something that the entrepreneur decides whether he wants to give up a lot of or otherwise. If you find a controlling investor, and you're able to tell from the very first few minutes of talking with them, you know, and one of the things I also want founders to be comfortable with is be comfortable to ask the investor questions. It's not a one-way thing. It is a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to be working with you. They bring the money, but you have all the sweat equity, you have all the energy, you have some money in there too.
And you do all the work.
Good. So it's important to ask questions. Who have you backed for? Why did you back them? Why do you think this is a good fit for you? You know that you bring something to the table and have this conversations. It's, you know, so because you find founders who go to meet investors, they come to investors meeting, and the investor asks question, and they say, "Do you have any questions for us?" And you say, "No." Whoa.
Yeah. No. One of the examples that I give to other founders was when I was fundraising last year. It was very difficult because I was pitching a lot of investors, but many of them, I felt like I'm having to explain, like, Africa. I'm having to explain and tell them, well, South Africa is here, Nigeria is here. And I was complaining to another investor friend of mine to be like, these people don't understand what I'm building. And then he's like, well, what question are you asking them? I'm like, well, you know, I send them my deck and we speak. And he was like, let me give you a tip. Like, okay, go on. He's like, ask them what their relationship with Africa is. It's like, huh? He's like, yes, because if somebody has a relationship with Africa, they will not be asking you certain questions. I'm like,
Absolutely.
okay. By the way, this is not even my friend. This is my Oga. This is my Oga.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
This happened on a Saturday.
Yeah. So if you ask questions, it's easy to know whether you should be pitching or otherwise. And
Wow.
it's this extends into a conversation I have with founders who show up at networking meetings and want to pitch immediately. No, you don't meet me at a networking meeting and we're all dancing, the groove is going on, and then you say, "Excuse me, sir," over the loud music, "My name is Solomon. I'm building this startup." Okay, I can't hear you.
It's my worst nightmare. I'm like,
I can't hear you.
No, please, founders, I'm begging of you, please.
I think the best you want to do is to ask me questions. To
Yes.
say, "Hey, what made you start plaiting your hair? Be interested in me." And because an investor that you ask questions is usually taken aback. They expect to be the ones asking the questions. So when you flip the script and then you start asking them questions, Solomon King, that's an interesting name. Wait, being genuinely interested in the person, you would pull out a full conversation that turns into a relationship and then a funding in the end.
So it sounds like people are enjoying this conversation so far. I think we have 40 plus people on it. If you are enjoying this conversation, please just give me thumbs up. I actually haven't seen the number move at all. So give me like a thumbs up. Let me know if you're enjoying this, if you find it useful. Yeah. Okay, good. So we have people who are interested. But yeah, Solomon, when I tried that trick on my next investor pitch, it worked like magic. My pitch was 10 minutes. Because as soon as I asked the investor the question, he's like, "Oh, I'm taking this call on my way to Ethiopia." I'm like, "Ethiopia? This is a Dutch guy." And I'm like, "What are you doing in Ethiopia?" He said, "Oh, you know, he has a gallery there." I didn't have to South Africa. He really understood exactly what we're building, and it was a very successful pitch. So I really encourage founders to get to know the investor. Yes, fine. They probably give you 30 minutes to have this conversation. But even if you use the first 5-10 minutes just to know who you're talking to, I think it helps quite a bit. Okay, wow. We're already past 30 minutes. Solomon, I want to talk about funding misconception, which is the fear of rejection. Rejection is something that is not accepted in our society. Like, people fear it. People don't want to deal with it. Why do you think founders should get comfortable with rejection? Because it's such a necessary thing as part of the fundraising journey. And why do you say that it will actually help founders become better?
So
Actually, so before you answer the question,
yeah.
for founders on the call,
Mhm.
use the comments to tell me if you've been rejected by an investor before. It's going to be yes, no. So like, just type yes or no. I want to know whether you've been rejected at least once. Okay, we only have 2 founders on this call. Okay.
So there's a lot of them coming through.
Okay, good. All right, so somebody got rejected 3 times by the same investor.
All
right, so we have founders on this call who have been rejected at least once. Sorry, back to you, Solomon.
Good. So rejection is 2 ways. First, rejection is normal.
Okay.
It will happen as long as you are in the market. Interesting thing that founders forget is that they also reject people. They also play the rejection game, but they seem to internalize theirs more. Oh, you've been rejecting people too. Every time somebody asks you to buy something and you didn't buy, you rejected them also. So rejection is something that we all do. We give it and we take it. So don't internalize yours. Second thing, therefore, is rejection is a door to feedback. You didn't like this? Oh, you said a no? It's okay to ask. And again, like we go back to the point of make it a habit to engage in meaningful conversations with investors. You gotta know why. Dear Mr. Investor, thank you so much for your email. I'm glad that I heard from you. But curious though, why didn't this work for you? So you get, oh, it doesn't fit our thesis, not now. Because sometimes rejection is not even about you or about your product. Sometimes rejection is about them, their issues. The money has not come. Some of them don't have money, even though they answer the name investors. So, it's just a convoluted conversation that people need to not internalize. Also, play the rejection game. So, 2 years ago, 2024, I applied for a certain fellowship and I was rejected. Feels good to say that. And then the email came through and said, oh, yours was one of the better applications that came through. Good luck on building the platform you said you were going to build. This morning, I see the same fellowship is open again. And I'm asking myself, do I want to apply? Yes. But I have not solved the problem that made them reject me the first time, which is the platform I was trying to build. I had no clarity around it. In fact, the platform came as a result of that application. It wasn't like I had something to do. Oh, okay, you're going to need to have a project. So I tried to create something and use it to apply, and I was sent out. The fault of the fellowship for having their clarity and me not having clarity? No. And so in applying again this year, I'm asking myself, am I ready for this? Do I have what they want? So rejection is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a part of the whole conversation. And so I saw someone say, an investor rejected them twice. And all 3 times, I'm sure they will give you the reason why. And then if a person rejects you first, second, third time, there's something you are not doing right, or there's something about them that isn't right for you. And so you have to adjust that. But rejection is part of the game. Rejections will happen. In fact, the more rejections you get, the better for you.
It's a numbers game. That's what I was going to add. It
is. So
I believe it's 5%.
Yeah, pretty much around that. But I usually would even want, I work around 1 or 2%. So at the beginning of the year, towards the end of last year, December, all that Christmas drama, I was compiling a list of the possible funders for our work at LAN this year.
Yeah.
The reason why I wrote for non-profits is because LAN is a non-profit. So, and most times people don't realize that it's the same entrepreneurial thinking that you use to build a for-profit business that you use for a non-profit. In fact, I usually will speak to people, founders who are for profits, to say, hey, you have to have the impact story of your business. A couple of days ago, I was with Kola, and a couple of guys in the meeting, and I asked a question. I asked Kola, and I said, "Is the ecosystem doing well in building the impact element of our lives as a people? Is our entrepreneurship affecting?" And Kola just went on this. You would know that it's something that he's very comfortable with, and he wove the story of how agency banking creates jobs. And before I knew it, the whole impact element of entrepreneurship, I'm like, ooh, that's a man who has mastered how to tell the impact story of his for-profit business.
Yeah.
So we had this list, drew up a list of about 180. As of today, it's about 195 different organizations that could partner and fund LAN in this year. Yeah. And I expect a lot of them to say no.
I'm curious, are those mostly for-profit or non-for-profit, or mix of both?
Oh no, so it's a mix. So you have corporates, you have charities, you have foundations. So in the book, we have 15, I listed 15 types of funding sources funding sources that a person could approach. And for every kind of organization that I run, whether it's the consulting company, whether it's LAN, I usually will have funding prospects in those. And part of what we're doing as a team, and I have a couple of guys on my team whose job it is to find what is the matching point. At what point do we meet? LAN and EcoBank, how do we meet? Solomon King and Borderless, what is the conjunction? And we're doing that mapping deliberately. Now, if you don't have the staff strength that I have and you're a solo founder, you will not sleep in the night. You will wake up and you will study and you do research like you're writing an exam, because this saves you a lot of rejections on the road.
No, I wanted to come back to your impact part. For a very long time with Hope, we didn't really pitch the impact piece. But then we started realizing that, again, a lot of our portfolio companies were creating a ton of jobs. I think in 2024, we did the impact report for ChildDeck, and I think ChildDeck employs maybe right now 5,000 to 10,000 writers.
That's a lot.
That's crazy.
That's
And
a lot.
if you see, I think ChildDeck is probably one of the biggest GDP contributor when it comes to food in Nigeria. I'm sure you've used it. A lot of people on this call have used it. And while Hope is a for-profit syndicate, there is that very clear impact angle of funding companies like ChildDeck. So
let me make a quick point in that light. So I was in this conversation last year with Michelle Dillon of the Netherlands, the Consular General of Netherlands in Lagos. And so I was talking about how impact is kind of different from profit. And he says, no, Solomon. If you make profit, that is the impact itself for me.
Yes.
Making profit is an impact play. And I'm like, yes, sir. Coming from you is, and so the point therefore is, for every founder on this call, even if it is a for-profit business, always remember the impact side of your story and tell it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And while I'm here, I would love to tell the impact side of Borderless. I'm kidding, I won't. So for folks who are on this call, I really want to give you the opportunity to ask questions, because this is, yes, while Solomon and I are having this conversation, like if you have any question, you have two options. You can write the question in the comments, or you can just unmute and you can raise your hand and unmute. Actually, God's delight. I can go to you while I'm reading Chris's question. God's delight, can you introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then proceed with the question?
Before God's delight, just hold on a bit. I saw a question on the group chat that is very interesting. So the hair and the braids is really recent. I think it's 2 years ago. So
it's very cool. It's giving like.
So whilst I lectured, I didn't have to do this. So I hope that provides clarity. And in the earlier years, it bothered me, but now, hey, I'm all cool in my skin. And what I've also learned is people are looking actively for value. And so if you bring value to the market and you look good, I used to be bothered until I saw that David Larry Mason, and I saw his longer braids. I'm like, okay, I have a senior in this matter. So please, let's go back to the gentleman, God's delight. Forgive me.
God's delight. Please, over to you. Please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and
Hi everyone. Good evening. I'm a lady.
Okay.
My name is God's Delight Agu, and I work as a digital and a social entrepreneur. So I'm what we consider a multi-potentialite. People who could do several things and still excel at them. So this year, the last session that Mr. Solomon had, I was also on that call, because I'm really intentional about how to raise funding for my entrepreneurial endeavors. And while he was speaking on the last call, he said when you are trying to build a business, he would recommend that you get an employment or you have a job till your business actually starts making money, so that you don't get frustrated along the way. And as someone who I've been in paid employment, trying to also build a business by the side and all, and I'm currently out of job, and I'm like, okay, let me focus on this business and actually scale it. Because now this is the question I'm asking. The effort it takes to actually land a job nowadays is actually a whole lot. So are we going to say, oh, let's just focus on actually just landing the job, or should I start trying to pitch, try to scale my business, try to work on my marketing instead of just trying to get a job? I don't know how to put it, but this is like a question I have around this. Thank you.
Okay.
God's delight, I'm gonna mute you. Yeah. And Solomon, I feel like we're gonna have two different opinions, but I'm gonna let you go first.
I was just going to ask her a simple question about if she's still living with her parents. If she is, then good for her. Somebody's feeding her and paying the bills, and so she can build the business and get going already. But if she isn't, somebody's got to pick up the bills whilst you're building. I don't know how you're going to do that, but hey, that's it.
So the counter argument to this is investors want you to be fully in. And I remember that when I started fundraising about 3 years ago, the number one question I received was, are you doing this full time? And no investor was willing to back somebody who's doing the thing like our path. And the reason being is yeah, we've seen some founders who are doing this on the side, and it kind of shows a lack of commitment. And I've often struggled with backing founders who are, I'm going to use the term, no, I'm going to use the term half arsonate. It's a very Irish term, like you're doing a half. And I actually wrote a piece. I haven't published it because I'm very scared about the backlash. But I think personally, if you want to do this, you need to prepare properly. So before I became a full-time founder, first we ran Hoke as a part-time endeavor for like 3 years.
And in that time, you didn't seek for anybody's money?
No, I didn't. But also I saved a lot of money. Like I saved quite a lot of money. And in terms of runway, personal runway was 12 months. Beyond me raising any money. Now, I have to caveat that I did have a really good job, which allowed me to save that much money.
Yeah, no, Imbo boy. God's delight, my sister. Leave this Imbo boy alone. And if you don't have who is giving you money to eat, find work and be building it more.
Okay.
But no, so to tidy that up, I agree with the point that says that people want you to be all in. So maybe as part of your financials, you want to put a salary in there and then see that it's not ridiculous. It's a lot of things, and I said that at the beginning, a lot of things around fundraising and this space are nuanced. A lot of it are nuanced. There's no clear-cut rule. For some founders, it works if they're in partially. For some others, and it depends also on the level at which you are raising.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I was raising friends and family, and most people who gave me money knew me. Like it was my ex-boss, the guy I was leaving. Like I'm going to build this. Of course, I think I was a good employee because he invested in my company.
So we have quite a lot of questions. Let's
we do. Oh, I'm sorry. So, Spokule. Did I say your name right?
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. How are you? Can you introduce yourself? Tell us why you're building and go forward with your question, please.
My name is Pogoshe Dlamini from South Africa. I'm the co-founder of Emergency Swift. We currently building the digital platform that provides fast access to the emergencies like ambulance response, roadside assistance, security escorts, and towing and parcel delivery and health support. So
Awesome.
I wanted to ask you guys the question about the funding, about the market fit. So I wanted to ask what is the mistake do the founders make when they're explaining to their market, and what is the right time to raise funds for the startups? Because currently we're raising the funds, but it's a bit quiet for now.
Okay. Joe, take that so that we just run through them quickly.
Yeah, I'll be quick. So the first thing I'm founder hat, investor hat. I really care about the market size. The market size needs to be really big, first and foremost. The second thing we really care about, or personally I care about, is I want the founders to know something that the average person don't know. And oftentimes it's described as domain expertise. Like you really want to have that special skill that gives you a competitive edge to be able to win that market. And last, on when should you fundraise, is the market has changed quite a bit, which means that a lot of investors want you to bring some traction. They want to see your company make some progress, and they want to see you have some traction. And without the traction, I think it's been much harder for founders to raise. So if you have to get scrappy to get that traction, please do it. Like do what you need to do, just to don't go kill anybody or do anything illegal. But like whatever you have to do, go get that traction because it really helps, and it's given a lot of investors confidence to invest in your business. Nate, over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Introduce yourself, why you're building, and straight to the question.
All right, great. So my name is Nate, based out of Lagos. I am building Cardiza. It's a vehicle ownership platform that basically provides services across the vehicle ownership lifecycle. So in essence, we are trying to enable Africans enjoy a stress-free vehicle ownership experience. I kind of have two questions in one, and it's about fundraising. So usually, so let's say a startup, early stage, has been able to generate around 9K, 10K for 2 consecutive years, talking to angels or investors generally, and they say, so what do you think your evaluation is? So where would you want to put evaluation, especially at that first conversation? And then the second question would be, if you're looking to raise somewhere around, so let me give you a little backstory. So trying to raise a little less, saying, oh, 50K and everything, and they look at what you're doing. First of all, a side of the business is in the regulated space, and the other side of it is more or less a marketplace. So it's a two-sided market. And they're like, 50K won't cut it. So it's, you know, so now you have to up the stakes. You have to up what you're raising, and you're saying somewhere around 150 to 200. How much equity should you be thinking to let go of? So this is the first raise. So I think the two questions are kind of interconnected because there's evaluation and then equity at the same time.
Solomon, I think the second part of the question you covered in your book, if my memory is correct. Nate, did you read the book?
I don't think he's
No, I haven't gotten the book yet, but I have been following and reading posts and articles because I follow Solomon K.
Oh, great. Valuation is not straightforward. Nothing is as artistic in this country or in this world as valuation. Nothing is as artistic as it. But again, there are a few standard methods for valuation, and you want to look them up and apply it. Multiple of revenues in your industry, comparable businesses and their size. A couple of tricks and techniques around valuation. So, but valuation really is not cast in stone, especially at early stage businesses. Even the large scale businesses, for those of us who invest in the stock market, different analysts would have different valuations, but they're usually similar strings. What's that second question again?
I want to give an example of how I got my valuation for my first fundraise. It was literally, I spoke to one of my first angel, Olumide Shirumbo, and we talked about we literally picked a number. I think we started with we can do 3 or 4. Olumide was maybe 2.5. That's it. Because the truth is, in the early stage, the valuation is not how much your company is worth. What it is how much you're raising. What you're betting is the money that you're raising will help your company reach that valuation. That's why we call it valuation cap. And it's not real. And it has a lot of things such as market dynamics, how much is pre-seed hot at the stage that you're raising, or is pre-seed dead? When I was raising, pre-seed was dead. It was 2.5 million. I know people who raise pre-seed at 10 million. And now this time it's not happening. So it's very artistic, it's very subjective. And I think it kind of ties to the second thing, which is how much should you give away? Very subjective, down to the investors that you're speaking to. But I encourage you to kind of look at it from a global perspective, but also a local perspective, because if you're building your business in Lagos and you want to apply asset valuation, there is a very clear disconnect. So you have to be very realistic, but also one of your investors can just set the valuation and everybody follows. When you have one valuation across the entire spectrum, it makes life easy for everyone. Sorry, I went on for a little bit. We have, Solomon, are you okay for time? I know we only have 4 minutes left.
No, it's fine. We can stretch into another 30.
No.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, so please, can I get Solomon King's input on the how much equity to let go of for 150 to 200, because that's the realistic raise for marketplace / regulated, because anything less, they think you don't know what you're doing.
150 to 200. What's the value of the business itself? Do you have valuation clear set now?
No, we don't have an evaluation set, but I know that
Until
question
you
is
have,
coming.
until you have valuation, which might be around the number of things, the infrastructure you already have, your team, the value, what are similar businesses around your industry value that, like I said, it's the way Joe and Olumide sat down. Maybe you and I need to sit down and then look at it and see what we can figure out.
All right, great. I would reach out, but then let's just throw a number out there. Say first raise, how much should founders make sure they did not exceed for the first raise? So
It's difficult. It's difficult to pin that. But Joe, what do you say?
There's a lot of writings out there about, so like at the pre-seed there should be a number that you're giving away. At the seed, the one that I know is cast in stone. Series A, it's 20%. You will not get any serious investor to own less than 20% of your company at Series A. Between pre-seed and seed, it kind of fluctuates up and down. But Series A is 20%. Series B, from Series A upward, it's very clear. Below, it's more art than science. Read about it. You book time with Solomon.
Indeed. Well, we have a lot of questions.
Uche.
Yeah, good evening, guys.
How you
Is it
doing?
just me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Uche, before you go on, I can see a question I can quickly attend to. What's
Okay.
Lagos Angel Network thesis around real-world assets, tokenization, blockchain in Nigeria? We can have that conversation. Lagos Angel Network is sector agnostic, but we like early stage businesses because we're angels. So early stage businesses, we like any sector if it is good, if it is tech or tech enabled, and post revenue. So you have made some money, you have a few customers. We can speak English, and then your valuation is not more than your valuation is not more than 5 million USD. So we're really early stage like that. Okay, so Uche.
Yeah, good evening, guys. My name is Uche. I'm one of the co-founders of Yatso. Yatso's main mission is making buying and selling safe and easy. We're currently attacking the market by giving users personal storefronts which act as links, and then allowing these same items go to our marketplace. So we're allowing people sell from two sides of the coin, and we introduce trust by allowing by giving buyers escrow
The
back.
question.
Sorry. I just had to put it out there. It was still based on pre-seed valuation. So they have like the number for pre-seed valuation, like a percentage you should give out for pre-seed valuation. What is the max you should be going for pre-seed?
Again, it's Uche. It's art. It's not science.
It's not science.
My pre-seed, I raised 125 at a $2.5 million valuation. That's 5% of the company.
Yep.
That's me. But like, I'm very
So
stingy.
I know one of the deals we did last year, the founder did 5% for 150.
So
So
again, it will change. It will fluctuate. It all depends on what deal you can strike with your investors.
Yeah.
And usually the person who's bringing the biggest check is the person that would be like, you know what, let's cap it here. And ideally everybody should follow. Now you're gonna have investors who will negotiate, but having that one valuation really, really helps. It helps so much.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Marvelous.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Solomon, and hi, everyone. I'm Mavela, CEO of SurgeryX. We're basically here to bridge the gap for advanced therapy. We're providing access to surgeons. And basically, my question is for capital intensive or regulated sectors like the health tech or med tech, what different proof points matter most at early stages? And where we also have like long sales cycles, right? Was investor standpoint in it. So you have a client that wants to buy a high value product. They want to pay within a time frame, and then how do we reach out? How do we explain this to the investors that usually in healthcare there's long sales cycle, and they shouldn't expect returns immediately?
So I suspect that you've been talking to funny investors. So Joe, don't laugh. I suspect that you've been talking to funny investors, but what I mean by that is not every investor is good for you. Not every investor is your investor. If an investor does not understand your business and does not have the patience and the interest to take necessary learnings, they probably are not your investor in the first place. So every industry has, so let me just get to it. At Lagos Angel Network, for example, it's a collective: engineers, lawyers, doctors, and people who have industry domain expertise. Those are the ones who would lead and support you. You want an investor who understands what you're dealing with, especially at the early stages. And nobody's going to come putting money in a business they are not interested in or they don't have knowledge about. If they're doing that, they're probably following a crowd and that truly may not be your investor. So I think listening to you, I just know that you're talking to the wrong people, pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Marvelous. Inedu. No, sorry, no Inedu. Fashola. Fashola, are you there? Yeah. Yeah, Fashola, go for it. Fashola, are you there? Okay, we'll come back to you. Fashola, you can put your question in the comments. Inedu, please.
Okay, so hello everyone. So my name is Joshua Inedu from Abuja. We are building Onboarder. Onboarder, the goal of Onboarder is to replace to make KYC reusable, just like how you have sign up with Google. So with Onboarder, you don't have to do your KYC on every single platform. You can just do your KYC on Onboarder once, and platforms can reuse that same KYC on platform. So basically, we are kind of like in a sector that is highly regulated in terms of we need license to operate because we are dealing with people's data. It's very critical. And these licenses are quite expensive. So we've been talking to some investors, but the sound, there's this kind of like, okay, we've not really seen what you're building. Like, this is not something that is common. How does it work? How we sure your platform is something that can scale? We've built it already. It's something that we've tested, but we've not really taken it out to the market because we cannot take it out to the market without license. So in a situation like that, so although we are trying to see how we can open a small group where we can add interested developers, companies, or startups to try out the product, but it will still require license, right? We cannot just put out our product there and expect people to come and use our platform.
Inedu, what's the question, please?
Yeah, so the question is, how do we go around like a situation where we need money to get license, and we need license to test our product, and if we don't have that license, we cannot get traction. So, and investors are not willing to like put in the money. So how do we like solve all of these issues? Basically, it's about getting investment, but to get the investment, we need money to get the license, and to get the license, it's like, I don't know.
Have you heard the word hustle?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
At this stage, when you have money for license, you need license, you need to just go find somebody who has license and work with them. That's where your hustle comes in. Because without that, so essentially you have a lot of companies that will allow you to go under the license, but they're not going to do such thing unless they know you, they like you, and maybe they can benefit from your product. So go find potential partners. Hopefully they can benefit from your product and get them to allow you to use their license. Solomon, what do you think?
I think that's really spot on. In fact, I'm grateful that you're on this call because I was wondering how to tell him to keep hustling till he finds that
It's the
investor
hustle.
who's going to buy him the license. But yeah, I think one of the things that startups and founders generally don't pay attention to enough is partnerships. Getting into, we work a lot in silos. Everybody wants to be CEO of themselves. We form several partnerships and collaborate and see what can be done. And that's something you've just hit on, and it's very critical.
No, thank you. Yeah, you can't move forward without partnership. Like I wouldn't have made progress if I didn't, because I still don't have my license. I use somebody else's license. So yeah, thank you, Solomon. I know, Chris, I'll come back to you, but Fashola is back. I'll go to Fashola very quick and I'll come to you, Chris. Also, all the before you go, Fashola, all the investors, please, all the founders, Chris is an investor, so please mark his details and he's somebody you want to be talking to. Fashola, please come back to us.
Like that. They have casted you, Chris.
Thank you very much. So I'll just go straight to say I'm actually pitching to Chris. And also, I have a couple of questions. So my name is Fashola, and I'm the co-founder of Localit Africa. Thanks to SOA for sharing this. I just joined. So we are an integrated marketplace solution, particularly focused on helping build sustainable business for local traditional restaurants, which are majorly owned by women that are not very educated or not educated at all. These are your local restaurants, your local retail traders that are very traditional people. And most of the time, they are key man risk in themselves. They have customers, they have traction, they have numbers. Now, my question is, when we started, we actually did a lot of collaborations with some of the big guys like Chowdex and the like. So far, we've done, in the last 2 years, we've not spoken about raising. We wanted to do traction. So we've done over like 100 million naira so far. But at what time should we be raising? I've never done anything raising. I've never looked out to raise, but I think we need to scale.
Fashola,
what do you do? Yes, sir.
There's no law on the planet that says you must raise. So let's quickly get it right. There's no law on the planet that says that, oh, as the business is growing, we should now. If you're making sales and making revenues and solving customer problems and growing, can you please just continue your growth gradually? There's no law that says that you must raise. And that's my first take on that. You want to raise if and only if you need money.
We do.
For the next, please hold on, for the next level of your growth. And it's got to be by all means expedient. If it isn't, please don't sweat it.
Yeah, what Solomon said, like raise it's not competition. Like you don't have to. Like I wonder if I'll raise money again after this business, because remember, every investor, they give you £1, they want £100 back. So every money comes with expectation. So like you think, yes, you want to fundraise, but that investor wants X many times, and investor money is more expensive than bank money. So there is, I think, this chapter in Solomon's book that covers at least, I think it's like 15 forms of funding.
Yes, 15.
It's awesome. It's probably one of the best parts of the book. Do check it out. Like it gives you all the options. It's not just raising capital from other places. Thank you, Fashola. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Your book is showing I have to pay in Uganda shillings. I just checked it out.
Just change the thing.
Change the currency.
Yeah. Hi, Chris.
All right. Yeah, hi, Joe. Thanks, and thanks for the earlier intro. Dr. Solomon, it's such a pleasure to meet you.
I'm glad.
Yeah, so as Joe rightly said, I probably sit more in the bucket of an investor, but I equally see myself as a founder. As Joe is aware, I've recently set up my own collective, Real Capital, and it's all the business of fundraising. So yeah, you do know what it is, but then sometimes when the table turns around, the game comes back to you. It can be a bit of a challenge.
It's funny, like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But what's interesting is just picking a little bit of your book, really, in terms of strategies of building and signaling credibility. And I kind of feel like this is something to share with yourself, even Joe, because Joe is also an accountant. I'm an engineer by background, but I'm also a chartered accountant. And I build a lot of financial models. So I'm aware of, how you model and, how you use your assumptions, to kind of use your numbers to tell a story. So, but the interesting thing is part of building that and signaling credibility is about using, as you mentioned in your book, conservative forecasts, explicitly stating assumptions, then obviously explaining downside scenarios and mitigation plans. But quite in a practical sense, one of the challenges I've faced with raising funding for my, fund, is this, right? When you look at the landscape and you look at all of the elements and then you try and pull together this conservative forecast, you run into a situation whereby the conservative forecast isn't really anything that's going to encourage anybody, right? And I'm sure you guys have done that. You've plugged in your numbers and it's like, no, nobody's going to fund this. And the question is, how do you then strike the balance? Because yes, I ran into the problem and I did a lot of explaining. And maybe it goes to the point Joe says about, look, he doesn't want to be talking to people that he needs to just explain and keep explaining. So is that sort of how do you bridge those two? Explaining versus using your forecast, because obviously it makes sense.
Let me tell you a story that of something I've done earlier. So I did an investment memo trying to get partners to join into a fund, and somebody reached back to me and says, hey, the risk elements in this document are too explicit. So he just saw the risk element. He didn't see my mitigation. He didn't bother to read my mitigation any plan. He just focused on the risk and then said to himself, this thing is too risky. I'm not going to do it. So what I did was to take out the risk element for subsequent investors. And yes, these subsequent investors bought into the fund, but I regret it now, because it also helped, it made me take my eyes off the truth
risks
of the business. And therefore, I wouldn't advise otherwise. I would rather you stay conservative. You will find the investor whose thesis fits what you're selling. What I have learned is not every investor is for you. It might be more difficult to find people who are conservative, but they're out there. There is an investor for your fund. What I would not allow you do as your brother is try to paint an overly optimistic story that, because people will build their hopes around it. And if the reality that your conservativeness is trying to push out, if that reality comes to play, it will be like your fund is not performing. It will be like you lied. And the problem is not raising funds now. The problem is the sustainability of the fund going forward. So I would say stay within range, stay within balance. Don't be too pessimistic, okay? But don't overbloat the figures. Let's stay within the range, and the investor that is our own will come.
Right. Thanks.
I don't know how I feel about this, Solomon.
Joe's laughing a lot, so it looks like he just
because the thing is, like, when you're,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of agree with you, but the way I look at it is like the conservative. So I often have two models, right? The conservative one is for me and internally, because you can't lie to yourself. Let's be honest, like you can't lie to yourself. If the money is finished, the money is finished. But I do always have like conservative for me, but also like investors want to know that remember the days when they were talking about becoming a unicorn? Investor wants to know that it's you that they're going to chop the money out. You have to tell them. I mean,
So
for me,
what we do
mm,
is we always would tell our LPs, angels, to say, hey, it's not every of these deals that will bring the big deal. Oh. There's going to be one that will do exponentially, but there is the reality that some people would not do more than 1 or 2, 3x. We must always see the African market is becoming as realistic as it is. They don't declare everybody for high.
then we're not doing venture. Then we're not doing venture. Like venture is supposed to be, because me,
Potential.
as a founder, when I go into pitch meetings, I need you to believe that I am the winner of your fund.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because I also believe it. I actually believe that like I need to be the, because if you don't believe these, not even stories, but what you put on paper, the investors won't believe you. And because I've worn the hat of an investor before, I know what investors are looking for, which is they're looking for that one outlier that return the entire fund. And my goal in that meeting is to convince you that I am that outlier. And of course, not lying, but like, you know, we have best case scenario, real case scenario, worst case scenario for a reason. I come in with my best case scenario. This boy is going to be a unicorn soon. So
I agree with you. And one of the things I've said at the beginning of this conversation is I don't have all the answers totally. What I think about certain things and what Joe thinks about certain things may be conflicting, may not be the same. But within us, you will find things that are common threads that work in this game. And that's what we're pushing out.
Completely agree. Okay, 2 last questions. We're going to be quick. Osatema.
Hi,
Thank you, Chris.
it's Osatema.
Osatema, hi.
Hi. So my name is Osatema, guys. I'm based in Toronto, and I'm currently working as a data professional for the #1 pediatric hospital in the world. And I'm building Plexa Health, which is a data connectivity layer for African healthcare systems, enabling them to share medical records regardless of where the care occurred. My question really, it's not really more of like a question regarding the meeting, but I came in late and I just wanted to know how to access the recorded session.
Oh yeah, we'll share it. As long as you've signed up on the Luma, the recording goes out. But also we have a YouTube page, which is youtube.com/unborderless, and that is where you find all the recordings. Then, yeah, so go check it. I think it was a dope session. We also had one last week. We have a lot of content.
Yeah, I was there actually. That's what with one piece. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Before I go to the last question, Denai. For those who don't follow me on LinkedIn, I don't really know why you haven't done that. Here's a link to my LinkedIn page. Do follow me. I post a lot. Good things only though. So do follow me. And last but not least, Denai, over to you.
You guys can hear me. It's Denai. I just wanted to quickly ask, I did join the meeting quite late as well. So you're talking about like the psychology of founders.
Denai, we've lost you. Oh no, it's me.
Oh, can you hear me?
Denai, I can hear you. Just go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, I have a neuroscience background in psychology, but I wanted to know what personal skills you guys matter the most in building long-term trust. I think a lot of people are often like, how do I find an investor? But I'm more so on like building those relationships with not just investors, but like founders, early hires, investors, especially across different cultures or power dynamics. What interpersonal skills do you guys think matter the most?
Sorry, I missed the question because my connection is acting up.
I think she wants to know which interpersonal skill is most important for investors. I think confidence. And confidence comes from being really knowledgeable about the industry, about your business. And even if you are able to find information about them and knowing about the investor, it really helps you to portray confidence. And there's a difference between being confident and being cocky. And it's very nuanced. There's a very thin line within them both, but you want
what do you think that thin line is though between the two?
Like I said, it's nuanced. I've been in investor meetings where the way that the founder answered questions gave the investors arrogance, gave the vibe of arrogance. And I've been at investor meetings where a founder answers a question and asks the investor back, what is that for the business? So the investor asks the founder a question, and instead of answering the question, the founder asks the investor back, what does that have to do with the business? What does that have to do with anything? And the person who asked the question, the direct principal investor, didn't even have a problem with it. But the secondary people who were listening, the secondary audience who were listening to that conversation, a lot of them got offended. And so I think there's a way also that you become so knowledgeable about your industry. It makes you humble. It makes you realize that there's a lot that you still don't know. So it's about kindness. It's about thinking from the side of the investor, from the side of the person you're speaking with, and a lot around, just being kind. You can tell that I'm confident. I know what I know, but I'm also thinking about the other person on the call and what they feel and think. And you also must always remember it's their money. And if it is their money, you want to show them some respect. I know it's your business. I know you're great at it, but you want to respect their business. See the investor, Chris, talking about how much work he's having to put into getting money for the fund. And so it's kindness, it's confidence, it's just bedside manners, like we call them.
On that note, Solomon, thank you so much for being very kind with your time. I am glad that we got to do this. For those who don't follow Solomon, I highly recommend it. You should find time to book time with him. He does this day in, day out. And I am quite sure if you can't find time with Solomon, do buy the book. I found it useful. I hope you do too. And yes, Solomon, any parting words before we close it out?
This is just me saying to every founder listening on this call, we value what you do. Africa needs you. Africa needs more founders. Africa needs your ideas. What you're doing is very important. We are grateful for you, both as just regular day citizens and investors alike. We need you. We need you. We need more founders. We don't have enough of you. So please don't be tired. Don't tire out. Keep fighting for this. You're very, very important to us. I'd like founders to know that you're really, really important to us. All the investors in the world would mean nothing if there are no businesses, if there are no founders to back. So as investors are important, you must remember that you are also very, very crucial in this element, and you treat yourself as such.
Amazing. I think those are the perfect parting words to close out the session. Solomon, thank you so much. I am glad we did this. I know I've been saying we need to do this. I'm glad we did it. And yeah, I hope to do more this year and the coming years to come.
Great stuff. We'll be in touch. Thank you to everyone. I'm as accessible as possible. You send me a LinkedIn message, I respond almost immediately. I kind of think I live on LinkedIn more than WhatsApp or anywhere else. I don't like anybody to call me out for not being responsive, so I try very hard to respond. The book is out there. It was written so that, so Joe, quick story. Somebody was going to have a meeting with me, but he bought the book the night before and did a speed read. By the time he came, he said to me, "Sir, I had about 24 questions for you, but by chapter 3 of the book, I have all of them answered, so I don't need to speak with you again. Thank you, sir." And I was speeding up. And so it's that. So when I got your feedback, I'm like, oh, thank God I did this. Thank God I did it. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad you did it. All right, I think for whoever's managing the session, we need to, Solomon, I'll need to leave you go, but I want to just close out the session with some of the slides that we have.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Solomon. So for those who are here for the first time, these sessions are essentially to help founders who are probably going to Africa Tech Summit or thinking about going to Africa Tech Summit. And Africa Tech Summit is one of the biggest tech and investment gatherings that happens across the continent and the diaspora. The next one is in Nairobi. It's on the 11th and the 12th. But if you're a founder, you plan to be in Nairobi, do get there on the 10th because they have a Founders Day on the 10th of February. Our friends at Africa Tech Summit have given us a community discount code. So if you're going to Nairobi, please use the code Borderless on the website to get your tickets. Yes, for folks who don't know, I'm Joe. I'm the founder of Borderless, and we are an infrastructure for investment communities and founders, and we provide different tools to different audiences. So if you run your collective, we have tools for you. If you're a founder, you're raising from your friends and family, we also have tools for you. And that product, which is called Raise, is on the next page, which I'm going to talk about. So Raise is essentially, if you have friends and family who are willing to invest in your business, instead of you crowding 20, 30 people on your cap table, you can use Raise to clean up your cap table. In a technical perspective, it's called a roll-up vehicle. Essentially what that means is we help you collect all the money, do all the paperwork, do all the KYC, and on your cap table, you literally have one line. Very similar to products like RUV by AngelList, except we are making this global. The website is just live, so go to borderless.com/raise, where you'll find more information about what we do, and you can reach us on hello@borderless.com or the phone number, which is here, or you can find this on our website. Next. So this is 2 out of 4 sessions. We have the next section, which is happening next week, Tuesday, with Tamara Pasimi. You don't want to miss this. So Tamara is like, you have Solomon who talked about the nitty-gritty. Tamara goes into the details, like what due diligence will look like, how you should set up your data room, how do you send the right signals to your investors as you're going through that journey, so this is step 3 out of 4 of the sessions that we are hosting. And then we're gonna have one more, which will be a pitch session. We'll share more about that. We already have a couple of founders, and the whole idea is you come, you pitch your company in 2-3 minutes, and then we get some experienced investors to give you feedback on your pitch. The good news is we will also be inviting other investors. What that means is you just don't know who you're pitching to. So please sign up on the Luma page, and as soon as we have this ready, we'll share the date and also the details. But also we'll have a very short form that allows you to fill in your details. And what that means is you get to pitch in front of an audience. Worst case, you get to practice your pitch. Best case, you might end up in conversation with some. My connection is gone again. My connection left, right?
Yeah, it's back now.
It's back, but yeah. I think I've covered everything, right? Did I cover everything? Yeah, you can follow us here. Do follow us because we have a lot of useful information. All right, it's very late. It's 5:30. Also finished half an hour ago. So thank you all for joining. Do follow each other. Follow Joe. Follow Borderless. And yeah, I'll see you at the next session next week.